The Oracle Network.
Right, how we discovered that awful word.
Like, yeah, well, you guys don't know how to write cursive. How about that?
That's true. But then we sound like boomers and it makes me cringe.
Look how beautiful that is.
Is
So
that better? Is that really better, though,
Look, it's so nice and
than block print? No,
so
it's
loopy
not.
and lovely.
No, that's why I'm very consistent, if you can't tell with all my caps.
Yeah, you and Michael are little Virgo weirdos. You both do
It
block
has
letters.
to be consistent, Abby.
Block letters, all of it.
Look
both
how
of you.
legible it is.
Easy to read, and it's big, and it's clean, and it's all the same.
No, I agree. It's very good for what you've done here. That looks great.
So, like, low-key, this bothers me, but I tried to shut it down.
Because it's not block
It's
letters.
lowercase!
Of course it's lowercase. Who writes it all caps? That's
Hey guys!
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Abby.
And I'm Shauna.
And this is Anxious,
And Afraid.
the podcast where we yell at each other about cursive and block letters. We also talk about ghosts.
Yes, or true crime, or the consistency of all caps is needed.
Yeah, we disagree on some things, I guess.
It's okay. I still love you.
Yeah, thanks. I love you too. Hey, welcome. Welcome to our show. Here we are.
Yeah. And we talk about how we're anxious and all that jazz. So join us in those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And Abby,
Yes.
tell us about your feelings of feeling anxious.
Okay, just playing off what we were arguing about earlier. It's because we were talking about this new word, this new term.
Yeah, I told you about it last night.
Yeah, that Shauna told me about last night that I'd never heard of before. It's a new thing, apparently. And it's the word cheugy.
Which sounds disgusting. I hate it so much.
It's the most disgusting word I've ever heard before in my life.
Yeah.
And to know that somebody made it up makes me extra angry because you could have gone with any word and you went with a terrible one.
A terrible sounding word.
And it basically means, and I think it's because it triggers me.
Yeah, I'm also very offended by it.
Because it's like
It's attacking
another
millennials.
Yeah, it's attacking outdated millennials.
Because now we're old, apparently.
Yeah, and they're targeting us for our skinny jeans and our side
Parts and the emoji face, and
the crying face.
now
emoji.
we're so basic that we're chuggies or something like that.
Ew, I just hate that word so much.
That's what I learned on late night.
I literally had to Google it. You guys, there was a New York Times article about the word chuggy. I was like, what is this world coming to?
It's so disappointing.
So that made me anxious,
Yeah.
and it stressed me out because I don't want to be called a chuggy by a 16-year-old.
No, like, come on. We don't hate on you that hard. So, like, just don't make fun of us anymore, okay? Like, we get it from both ends.
Same team, I ain't.
Yeah, why are
Right?
you attacking us?
We're supporting you.
We're like, change the world. And they're like, thanks for fucking it up more.
I know. And I'm like, no, that was our parents. We're just stuck in the middle.
So, yeah, I feel triggered by that word.
Yeah.
And I'm upset that I have to Google new words now like an old person.
Yeah, and I hate that it's also like semi-true because it's like I do have to keep up on the new lingo. Like we're old but we're young at the same time, and I just don't like it.
It's a very weird place.
It's a weird limbo place to be in.
And then when I start going off about like, well, you don't know how to cursive, and I'm like, I'm an old person. And that doesn't feel good.
No.
So I'm sure our listeners can relate. They're all probably roughly our age.
I know. I mean, we're older than Google. How disgusting is
Ew,
that?
I hate when you say that.
It's the worst thing to realize is true.
So disgusting. I don't want to think about it. Well, what made you anxious or afraid this week?
Well, there's all of that, like every day.
Yes.
But today I'm actually having to drive by myself to the airport to pick up my husband.
Yeah.
And just driving by myself a long distance is a little scary.
Yeah, it's a couple hours.
It's been a while since I've done it, so we'll see how it goes. See if I don't get lost, hopefully.
Big city, international airport. Very...
It's a big airport.
It's a big one.
Yeah, we were talking. I drove there once, and it was pretty stressful. If you haven't like done it before or been there before,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people.
So wish me luck on that.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
I bet your
Godspeed.
GPS. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Godspeed. I bet your GPS will help you out.
Yeah. Hopefully she'll be accurate.
Yeah.
And cool.
I bet you nail it on the first try.
I hope so. At least it will still be light out.
Yes.
That's what I'm like thankful for.
I don't know how every year it blows my mind that it's still light out at like 8:30. I'm like, wow. Every single year.
We go through such a dark, depressing winter
Yeah.
of short days where we're just like, oh my gosh, light until 8 p.m.
Yeah, like, am I ever going to not be amazed by this?
No, it goes as far as like 9:30 in the midsummer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Long days. I love it.
Oh, I had one tiny correction from last week.
Oh, yeah. It's really bothering you.
So when I was talking about Lars Matank, I said that he had blonde hair and blue eyes, and he actually has brown eyes.
So
I apologize.
You're halfway.
He
Wrong.
had brown eyes.
And I know that our listeners can't see it, but on the board it's spelled with one T, but I believe...
I know I spelled it wrong.
And it's in lowercase, so come on, get your shit
You're just
together.
Do you
failing
guys
on...
even see what I have to put up with? Like,
Hey, it's been a while since me and Michael teamed up and we're like, fucking caps, man.
that's the hill you guys are going to die on?
If we agree on it, sure.
Organization is key.
I complimented your block letters. I'll take it back.
It was a two-sided compliment, or whatever those are called.
Oh, underhanded?
Complisalt.
Complisalt. I like that.
No, that's a Brita. I'm pretty sure that's a Brita from Community.
From Community.
I love that.
No, I wasn't sarcastic. I really do like her board.
It's really great for what you've got going on there.
I said for what you've done there.
For what you were trying to do, it works.
For what you did. I like it. I was a compliment.
I see what you were going for.
Michael, he's trying to pit us against each other.
I'm having fun.
Yeah, he's in his like new chair. It's like a large chair. He's got a cat in his lap that
feels
he's
better.
stroking. He's
We're
just-
doing a morning record, so I've got a different energy than normal.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
which
I
is
stayed
like
the
any
night.
energy.
Yeah, we had a slumber party.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Chad's out of town. Why would I want to be by myself? So we had me over adult slumber party.
It was so fun.
So
It's
nice.
like our kind of party where we ate a lot of food.
We did unshamelessly.
We shamelessly ate a lot of food, and I had all
said
that
unshamelessly.
candy and unshameless.
I'm so stupid.
I was shamed. And then we watched 2 documentaries.
Oh my gosh,
We were so excited.
we were like, oh my gosh, Friday night, we're getting lit with like docs about whales and the Titanic ship.
And I changed the lights in the room so that they were nautical, like blue.
Yeah,
For the vibe.
We were like totally vibing it. What a we're such nerds,
Damn it.
but we were so into it.
Michael came in. I think he thought we were drunk, but we weren't. We were just having a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You're allowed.
so we were eating candy. It was like the best time, like sitting on your bed eating candy and watching whales.
Sugar high. We had a sugar high for sure. Because my mom got me that like nostalgia box of like all the 90s candy, and it's just pure sugar.
Yeah, it's a lot
There's
of
like no chocolate in it. It's
No.
just like all the sugar
sour
candies.
candy, sugar candy, gummy candy.
Yeah, like Sour Patch Kids and
Yeah.
Skittles and stuff.
But I also
yeah,
that's also my jam, so I helped her out with that.
she did. There's a lot of stuff I wasn't going to eat, so thank you for that. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
back to biz, Abby.
I'm in it.
You are here. You're wearing a brace, but you are giving us an episode.
Yes, I am. I actually finished it early this week, which was kind of amazing.
So proud of you because I was like, oh no, are you going to be able to finish it if I'm going to be there distracting you?
I know. I was like, I guess you can come over and I'll ignore you.
Because I'm so last minute doing it like a half hour before I come over.
Yeah, so I got it done early so we could hang. But yeah, this is my first episode back. I'm like, am I nervous?
Are you? You must be. I was nervous. I'm always nervous.
I know, it's so weird, and it's like, why am I this way? Okay, this is episode 68. Like,
Okay, yay.
isn't that crazy? We're
so
almost
wild.
to 70.
Yeah.
Ew, and then I'll almost be 75, and that's almost to 100.
That's how numbers work.
Yep. All right. Let's do this thing. Okay, so for my first episode back, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to traumatize everyone again with a harrowing survival story?
Of course. Of course.
Yes, of course it would.
For the record, I'm shaking my head no.
Do you know what she's doing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I should, because she said a lot about it to me in the last week, but...
I know. I was like, actually, I talked to you about it several times,
Wow,
so I'm
clearly doesn't
surprised.
listen.
I want it to be a surprise.
He's like, I
Blocks you out.
actively ignore everything you say.
Sounds good?
Wow. Okay, so while researching the story, I found that the main character of our story today had a very interesting takeaway from their experience, and I think it differs from a lot of the other stories that we've done done with like similar circumstances.
Okay.
So today,
We're always bringing it a little different.
I just gotta mix it up, you know? You gotta keep it fresh. Keep them coming back for more. So today, I will be telling you the rather obscure survival story of Annette Herfkens, who was the sole survivor of the Vietnam Airlines flight 474 plane crash in the Vietnam jungle.
Oh my God, the jungle. Okay.
Now I remember what story you're doing.
Yeah. I'm like, how could you forget? This is like a very memorable.
Yeah, that's pretty specific.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but crazy. A sole survivor plane crash story again.
Yes.
But then also jungle.
In the jungle.
Oh my God, girl. Let's hear all about it.
You ready for this?
Okay.
I mean, it's already intense just like based on the category alone.
Right?
But first, you know, I got to recognize my main source for our story today, which was a book written by Annette Herfkens herself. So you can't get much better than that. Mm-mm. And the book is called Turbulence, A True Story of Survival. Dang. And I will say that it was, it's a fascinating read and it was really hard to put down, but it's also not organized in a way that is convenient for research. She kind of weaves her life before and after the accident into chapters between small windows of description of her time directly after the plane crash. So it's like, it's kind of like you're constantly getting like before the crash and like all these different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I did see a review saying that the organization was jarring and they also didn't feel like she wrote enough about the accident, but I really like the book. You really get to know Annette and all the hurdles she went through after the accident, as well as chapters from her friends and family's perspective. So I just thought it was really good.
All right.
I feel like I should have like a rating system for books, like a would read scale, you know, like a Borf chart, but like for books.
Yeah. That'd only be you, though, because I don't read books.
Yeah. I don't know what I would call it, though.
What's something clever?
You guys email us your ideas. Anxious and afraid, the pod at gmail.com. Okay. So, as I said before, it's a more obscure case. Almost no other podcasts have covered this that I could find. I think only 2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like,
look at you.
Yeah, I know. It's like obscure. And I'm kind of like nervous to tell her story, but I'm excited.
No, it's going to be great.
All right. Okay. So, as I said before, our story centers around a woman named Annette Herfkens. And let's talk about her for a minute because I know you're going to love her. She's so cool and she's like really world traveled. So on April 29th in 1961, Annette Herfkens was born in Venezuela to a Dutch family. She's tall and thin and she's beautiful and she's blonde and she's, you know, blue-eyed Dutch. And she seemed like she exceeded at most things. I feel like I always tell stories about women who are just good at everything.
Well, because women are good
Yeah,
at a
I'm
lot
just
of
like,
things.
God, everyone's so cool. She was athletic as well as intelligent and had a rather privileged and charmed childhood from the way she described it.
Nice.
After high school, Annette attended Leiden University in the Netherlands, where she studied law with an emphasis on economics.
Ooh, the Netherlands, too. That's cool.
Yeah, she's smart. She lived in the only co-ed sorority house on campus, where she would eventually meet Willem Vanderpaa, who everyone called Pache, or Pache. I was trying to listen to the way that she pronounced it, but she has an accent. But it's spelled Pasje.
Pache.
Pache?
Does he sashay away?
He sachets Pache away. But she put an R in it when she pronounced it, but I wasn't sure if that's just because of her accent or not. So she kind of pronounced it like Pache, but Pache. So he also studied law, and he lived in the co-ed sorority house, and after meeting Annette, the two became very good friends. Pache looked different from the other Dutch boys at the university, who were mostly, you know, tall and thin, blonde hair, blue-eyed, just like Annette.
Sure.
But Pache was more stocky with brown hair and brown eyes, and Annette found him to be more kind and mature than most of the other guys she was used to.
Okay.
So soon the pair became best friends, and as they spent more and more time together, they started to catch feels.
Friends with bennies.
Yeah, a little bit of bennies, which was prohibited in their sorority.
Of course it was.
They
Scandalous.
had to keep their love a secret. It's so fun. Annette would later say that he was not only her first love, but the love of her life and her soulmate. Which is very sweet. The couple vacationed together in Paris and longed to travel more together and see the world. Same. I think it's easier when you're in Europe to travel.
Yeah.
Different cool places.
It doesn't take as long to visit all the countries.
I know you don't have to cross an ocean. Damn it.
No.
They both spent some time in South America as part of their studies, and after graduation, they moved to Amsterdam and eventually began working for ING Bank.
Okay.
Pache, who was 4 years older than Annette, had relatively no issues with fitting into the banking world in the 1980s. But for Annette, it was more of a struggle. She was entering a male-dominated field and knew the cards were stacked against her.
Always.
But she kicked ass anyway.
Of course, she's a badass.
She is. Annette became the first female executive trainee at ING Bank and faced a lot of shade from her male colleagues.
Ugh.
And was told by the department head of the credit analysis department that he had little hopes of getting a woman to analyze anything at all.
Oh, no.
What a dick.
Wow.
I can't believe you just say that to someone's face.
It seems so, like, old, but we're still dealing with it.
I know.
And realizing that, becoming an adult was, like, jarring for me. Because I was like, oh, no, we're more woke, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's... But no.
Maybe they won't say it as openly like they did then, but it's still the same idea.
Yeah, same idea. Still not equality pay.
Yeah.
Equal pay.
Equality pay. I want equality pay.
I'm saying words all wrong today. What's new?
It's the morning.
I know.
We're tired. Okay, but Annette proved them wrong once again and not only survived the executive trainee program, but scored the most coveted posting in New York City.
Nice.
Becoming the first female executive trainee to be sent abroad by a Dutch bank.
Nice.
Boss bitch. After a year in New York, in 1989, Annette was promoted and relocated to London. She would find out that her promotion was due to the death of an LDC trader in London who had tragically died in a plane crash.
Oh, no.
A little creepy foreshadowing there.
Oh, no.
Meanwhile, her boyfriend Pache was relocating to Chile on a 2-year assignment with ING Bank. These two just travel so much into like all of these cool fucking places. I'm just so jealous. One of the things that amazes me about Annette and Pache was their ability to successfully navigate a long-distance relationship long-term.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it.
Yeah, they're like not in the same places most of the time.
Dang.
And they've already been together for years at this point, and they are still very much in love.
Aw, and they don't have like the same technology back in those days to like make it easier to see
just
each
like
other.
talked on the phone a lot.
Yeah.
And they were both like fiercely independent and intelligent and wanted to focus on their careers so that they could eventually settle down. Mm-hmm. Pache was always threatening to propose to Annette.
I'm going to marry you.
Yeah. And she would jokingly turn him down and say, "Don't you dare. We are in this together and we will for sure eventually."
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cute. And well, for them, like they knew they were a done deal. So putting off the engagement like wasn't, the end of the world.
Yeah.
They thought that they always had more time.
Sure.
The pair would fly to each other to visit. And thanks to their well-paying jobs, they could afford it.
Yeah. Jealous.
And sometimes their bank would pay for it too. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
How did they do that back in those days?
I don't know. I think if you're like a rich executive, they're just like, sure.
True that.
By now, Annette Herfkens was doing very well for herself. She was making big contacts in the international trading world, which is just so over my head to write about. I was like trying to understand all of the shit she's talking about. And I'm like, I don't understand trading, $1 million deals.
No way.
Stocks, bonds. Like, don't talk to me about it. She met a man named Jamie Lupa through work, who was one of the top traders for Citibank out of New York. He would call her every morning to ask about the European markets, and soon the pair became friends. So he travels to London to meet his business affiliates, which included Annette, and she describes her shock after seeing him for the first time because he did not look like a big-time New York trader. He was older than her, and he had long, bushy, dark hair.
Oh, no.
And a very impressive mustache. Think like Burt Reynolds.
Oh, no.
With a Farrah Fawcett hairdo, but
No,
in
no.
a suit and tie.
I can't handle it. It's not hot.
Just imagine the look. Like shoulder length, feathered, bushy brown hair and like this
But with a
mustache
suit.
that like goes halfway across his cheeks and down.
No, I hate it so much.
And he told her she didn't look how he pictured her either. He thought she was going to be a short and thick brunette.
Okay.
I know. I was like, rude. But instead he gets this like gorgeous blonde, tall model lady with a cute blonde bob cut. She kind of weirdly looked like the lady from the other plane crash.
I was going to say, it kind of
They had
describes the other one.
similar looks. So I was
Yeah,
like,
because she was also like haughty.
yeah, she's hot. She's blonde.
Yeah.
She had the short hair too.
She did.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But yeah, so the two hit it off after their initial shock at seeing what the other person actually looked like.
Yeah.
Because like this is back in the early 90s, 80s, so they're only seeing each other over the, through the phone.
Yeah, and once you have it like in your head, matching that voice, it's hard to like change it.
Right. Yeah, it's so weird. So they hit it off. They become friends. He goes back to New York, and then he calls Annette and surprises her with a job offer.
Ooh.
So the pair become trading partners at Santander Bank in Madrid and were tasked with making the relatively new bank one of the top 10 in the emerging markets. The places they get to go to are so crazy.
I'm
like
so jealous.
Madrid. She just gets to go live in Madrid. So this was another big step up for Annette because now she's a big time trader. So you cue up like the early 90s montage of Wall Street office life.
I can picture the big clothes, the
Yes.
shoulder pads.
Yes.
All
Big
up- yeah.
fax machines.
Yes, phones with cords. Remember phones with cords?
ringing off the hook. There's probably like cocaine involved.
Everywhere. Everyone's on cookie.
Yeah, schmoozy parties. You get it. So Annette and Jamie are on the phones constantly from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. is their work day, making deals and monitoring the markets in London and New York. I just can't picture that life. Like, I just
That's
can't.
intense.
There's a picture of the two of them, and their computers are like right next to each other, and they both have two corded phones held to each ear
No.
with like these concentrated looks on their face. Like, they're each holding two phones.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. But the pair become very successful. They're making millions of dollars. Well, deals. I'm not sure if they made millions of dollars. I'm sure they made a lot of money. And they do. They get their bank into the top 5 in the emerging markets.
Wow.
So they're doing a great job. And Pache was still doing his thing in Chile, and he and Annette would talk on the phone twice a day to fill each other in on their days. They missed each other, obviously, and decided that Pache was done with when he was done with his 2-year assignment, they were going to make a real effort to be stationed in the same place.
Yeah, hello.
But plans changed once again when Pache called Annette to tell her he had been offered an amazing job in Vietnam.
Ooh.
ING Bank had tasked him with opening up 2 new branches in Vietnam, which at the time they called like a virgin territory. So it's not like super developed yet.
So they were working for the same bank company, but like in different countries.
They were working for the same bank until she got that job offer from Jamie.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, so they were working for ING Bank together for a while, and Pache stayed with them. And now he's going to Vietnam. So he has to like build 2 branches there from scratch.
Dang.
Well, not him personally.
Well,
He's probably got soft hands. So he said he'd always been interested in Vietnam. And he was like super excited for the opportunity. And if he did well, he would possibly become the general manager. So in 1992, Pache moved to Ho Chi Minh City to begin work there on the 2 branches. And Annette and Pache began having struggles with their work not wanting to pay for the travel costs of the pair flying to see each other. They were like, well, those privileges are reserved for married couples. So,
okay.
even though they'd been together at that point for like 13 years. It wasn't really something that they had an issue with in the past, but it was one of the many reasons the couple was finally working towards like making a plan to get married.
Yeah.
But every time they made plans to see each other, life would get in the way, and their plans kept getting pushed back further and further until it would be 5 months until they could see each other again, which was the longest they had ever gone in the 13 years that they had been together.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, and they're in their 30s now. During their time apart, Annette attended a friend's wedding, and she was handed the bride's bouquet at the reception.
Aw.
And everyone cheered for her, knowing she was finally going to go settle down. So, in November, Annette was flying to Vietnam to visit her love and to celebrate the opening of the new ING bank he had been working so hard on. Mm-hmm. Pache had also made plans for them to visit a beautiful beach resort while she was there.
Love it.
She flew into Ho Chi Minh City on November 13th, and the very next morning, they were to take another flight over the Vietnam jungle to the Nha Trang airport to get to the resort located on Vietnam's southern coast.
All right, here we go.
Just let me dab the sweat.
Just getting prepared.
Annette was not exactly jazzed to be taking another flight while she was still so groggy and jet lagged.
Yeah.
But Pache's, he promised that the short flight would be worth it. So the pair get up at 5 a.m. the next morning and make their way to the airport, where Annette sees the plane they're going to be boarding, and she stops dead in her tracks.
Oh my God.
And she's like, there's no way I'm getting on that. So she's extremely claustrophobic. And the plane that they were looking at was very small. Their plane, which is kind of funny because just this morning we were talking about small planes.
I was like, how funny. I actually brought up the topic of being in small planes
this morning.
And here we are. And I had no idea what you were doing.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, we're going to be talking about this later.
Oh, we're so weird.
I knew. So the plane, Flight 474, it's a 16-year-old Soviet-made, I don't know how to say this, Yakolov, it's very Soviet, Russian.
We believe you.
It's only got a max capacity of 32 passengers.
Oh my gosh.
The small. So Pache knew this and had already prepared his arguments.
He's like, no.
He's like dragging her to this plane.
Oh, he's just dying to see her.
Yes, he's like, if we don't take the plane, we have to take a car, and it will take days to get through the dense jungle, and some of the roads might not even be passable, and by the time we get there, we're gonna have to turn around and go back.
Yeah.
And so, and then he's like, and the flight it's 20 minutes. It's only 20 minutes.
Okay.
So with a little more coaxing, Annette steels herself, and she climbs the steps into the rear entrance of the plane. Once inside, her head almost brushed the ceiling of the plane, and she immediately began to panic, turning around and running into Pache. And she began to beat her fist against his chest. And she's like crying, and she's,
oh my God, she
like,
just knew.
Yeah, and he's like grabbing her by the arms and saying like, you can do it. Like, I know you can.
Oh, that's so hard.
He said, you have to, for me, for us. It's only 20 minutes.
So he was on the plane?
Yeah. So with that, Annette calmed down and turned around to find her seat. It's a single aisle plane, and there's only 15 rows of seats. And Annette was seated in the aisle seat. Oh yeah, sorry. She's seated on the aisle in the third row, and Pache's right next to her. Her long legs were cramped, with her knees touching the back of the seat in front of her, and she could touch the ceiling seated without straightening her arm. Oh my God. So like really small.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. The flight attendant saw that Annette was clearly struggling and didn't make her fasten her seatbelt like everybody else, including Pache.
Whoa.
She said she couldn't handle being restrained on top of the severe claustrophobia she was already dealing with.
Yeah.
After the rest of the flight checks were done, Flight 474 was ready for takeoff with 25 passengers and 6 crew members.
Oh, wow.
Annette did her best to focus on literally anything but the time passing, but after 20 minutes with no discernible changes in the flight path, Annette asked the flight attendant why they were not descending yet. The woman cheerfully answered that the flight was 55 minutes, and they still had about a half hour left.
He's a liar.
At this point, Pache stopped making eye contact.
He's like, oh, snap, here we go.
And tried to disappear into his seat, as Annette probably turned around and cooked him with a death stare.
Oh, yeah.
And he guiltily told her it was the only way to get her on the plane. Which was probably true, but did not help the anger and betrayal Annette was feeling.
So many emotions in so little time. I'm already stressed out.
I know. So she seethed for another 29 minutes, realizing they were almost there. 49 minutes out of 55. So close.
That's so sad.
But then the plane suddenly drops. Dramatically. Like your butt is in your stomach and your stomach is in your mouth.
Like that froggy ride where it just like drops straight down?
Yeah. Pache turns to Annette and worriedly says, "This I don't like." Annette replies, "Of course a shitty little toy plane like this drops. It's just an air pocket." Like,
She's like, I fucking told all y'all.
she's so pissed. She's like, "It's a shitty little plane. Of course it drops."
Oh my gosh, I would be that way too. I'd be like, I told you, stupid bitches. This is terrifying.
I know. She's like, "It's an air pocket." Like, whatever. But then she can see that, like, he's scared. And then the plane drops again.
Oh my god, no.
And this time even further than
Oh
before.
my god, terrifying.
And everyone starts screaming.
You're killing me.
Pache and Annette grab for each other's hands and squeeze tight as Annette hears the roar of the engines accelerating. And then her world goes black. Do you want to take a little break? Yes. Let's take a little break. And we're back.
Hello.
Hey, if you heard any dog whining in the previous time we've been here, it's Roscoe.
Yeah, we got Roscoe. We got him here.
Roscoe's here today. We tried this method of locking him out. He wasn't having it.
It's too sad.
Yeah, he was whining. So now he's in here with us. So you'll probably hear him chewing on things.
Yeah, so forgive Roscoe and us.
But you love him. He's so cute.
Yeah, it's okay because he's a dog.
Yeah, you just can't be mad. All right. So when we left,
Oh yeah, back to this terrible thing.
we were in a scary part.
Yeah, they're holding hands. That's what got me.
Yes, the engines. She can hear the roar of the engines, and they squeeze hands, and then her world goes black. What the passengers of Flight 474 didn't know was that they were heading towards a tropical storm called Forrest. Like its name was Forrest.
Oh, okay.
I was really confused. I had to really read about that. I was like, it was a tropical forest storm? What? Yes. Okay, so that's its name, tropical storm. So Forrest is a blowin' and a wheezin' as Vietnam Flight 474 nears the Nha Trang Airport runway and begins to descend. But the rough weather conditions push the plane 3.7 miles or 6 kilometers off course, and the plane descends below a safe altitude. The pilot struggles to control the aircraft, but sadly fails. The sudden drop in altitude causes the plane to hit the top of a mountain, like a ridge, but it doesn't crash yet, and the plane impacts the trees at 300 miles per hour,
Yikes.
ripping off one of the wings.
Oh my gosh, this reminds me of like the Andes plane disaster that I did. Ugh.
She actually talks about that.
Oh gosh, okay, here we go. It's full circle. Here we
I
go.
know. I was like, oh, there's always all these weird connections.
There is.
I'm surprised no one talked about Marilyn Monroe. I feel like she shows up in every other thing we do.
It's true.
Okay, so they hit these trees at 300 miles per hour. It rips off a wing. And it's this impact that is believed to have knocked Annette unconscious. The loss of one of the wings propels the craft forward at an even faster speed as it rockets towards the neighboring mountain. The plane then crashes into the mountain, and the impact flips it upside down and breaks it into 3 pieces.
Oh my gosh.
The cockpit, the remaining wing, and the fuselage. The wreckage was located 19 miles from Nha Trang and 10 miles away from the closest village near the top of a mountain in the dense jungle.
Terrifying.
Not great. Amazingly, though, Annette survived the crash. Obviously, that's why we're here. After blacking out, the next thing she remembered was waking up to the clamorous sounds of the jungle. And when she opened her eyes, she could see green vegetation coming in through a large hole in the fuselage.
Okay.
She could see the cockpit had been torn off. And as she looked around, everything seemed eerily still.
Oh, imagine the silence.
But also the loud sounds of the jungle.
And also she probably has ringing in her ears.
I mean...
Is she upside down still?
No, she's not upside down. I'll tell you.
Okay.
She realized there was an enormous weight on her legs and saw that she was stuck under a seat that was being weighed down by a dead body. And she begins frantically to try and push the seats off of her. And I'm sure her claustrophobia was probably kicking in again at this point.
I'm surprised like she wasn't in like a coma for a while or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think she was probably knocked out for at least a couple hours.
Oh, really?
She
Okay.
doesn't know how long.
Okay, yeah. I guess
Yeah.
it's hard to tell.
Right? She just wakes up. She's like,
Just sounded like it was right away. But yeah, okay. It would make sense if she was out for a bit.
yeah, they don't say, but I'm guessing she was probably out for at least a couple hours.
Okay.
So she's unable to push the seats off at first, and then she kind of panics and she rips her legs out from under them, but she cuts them open in the process of doing this.
Ouch.
And it's during this struggle that Annette sees poor Poche still in his seat that has been tipped backwards, and he is deceased.
That's so sad. God, I can't even imagine seeing that.
She said when she looked at his face, his lips had a sweet smile on them, which I found to be very strange and maybe, I don't know, nice?
Yeah, that's either creepy or nice. I don't know.
I
but-
don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, it's not coming from like a maniacal,
no, but it's just like,
eerie.
I wonder what made him smile.
I mean, it probably didn't make him smile. He probably didn't do it himself, right?
I don't know.
Crash made him smile. Like, you know, manipulated his body.
I guess.
That's what I would think.
It's just like, I haven't heard of other people like crash victims like dying with a smile on their face. It was just weird.
Interesting. Yeah,
It's
I don't
very
know.
interesting.
I don't look at those faces.
I guess I don't either.
I don't know anything.
What do I know? It just seemed weird. But nice. Maybe he saw that she lived and he was like, yeah, nice. And then passed.
She's alive. Okay,
Yay.
bye.
I don't know. But seeing this, understandably, was very upsetting for Annette.
God.
And then she blacks out again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, ugh.
I can't even. Oh, the trauma. And the next thing she remembers, she's sitting on the ground outside of the fuselage in an immense amount of pain.
Okay.
So she somehow got out of the fuselage without even remembering how she got out of there.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it like speaks to what your body is capable of doing without your brain like recording it.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
That's blowing my mind.
I know, it's just like strictly autopilot
Yeah.
because it sees something so traumatizing.
Fascinating.
It like presses the skip button.
It's like your brain is so smart where it's like, I'm going to control your body to get out of here, but I'm also going to try and save you for some trauma and turn off your brain to remember this. Like,
Yeah.
That's so weird.
We're just gonna get through this, and it's gonna be fine. You won't remember. You're welcome.
I wonder how long it took. I wonder if she was just like crawling forever. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she's also very injured, you will find.
Yeah.
Okay, so Annette would later learn the thing that actually ended up saving her and condemning the rest were the seatbelts they were wearing. You'll remember that Annette refused to wear hers.
Right. And I thought that was a huge no-no.
Oddly, it saved her life.
Oh, snap.
Right. Because the plane was older, it still had seatbelts that went across your chest like in a car.
Oh, on an airplane. Okay. Yeah, okay.
But I think they just do like lap belts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if like these kinds of deaths had something to do with the change.
Interesting.
Because when the plane hit the first ridge, so this is what they think happened to Annette. So the plane hits the first ridge of trees, and she likely went flying out of her seat because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Right.
And in her words, tumbled around in the cabin like a lonely piece of laundry in a dryer.
Oh, my God.
She's just like getting, flung around in the cabin.
Like she's nothing.
Yeah. And at some point, she must have slid under a seat, legs first, and gotten stuck there before the second impact, which also might have saved her life.
Interesting.
Many others, including Poche, were killed after the violent impact caused their ribs to be crushed into their lungs.
I see. Oh, no. Yeah. I don't like imagining that.
Yeah, because the seatbelt, I think it said like it could withstand like 300 or 3,000 pounds of force or something like that. So it just like crushes your...
Ew, it just...
Your body gives before the belt does.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Oh,
So
gosh.
brutal.
Gross.
Ew,
Yeah.
ew, ew.
Ugh. God, the things you don't even think about.
Right, you don't think about that.
So when Annette comes to outside of the fuselage, she's in so much pain she can barely move, and she begins to take stock of her injuries. Mm-hmm. And I recommend you stop eating for this next part if anyone is. It's going to be gross.
Groovy.
Okay, so the first thing she noticed was that the wraparound skirt she was wearing had been ripped off. And she's just sitting there in her underwear, which would also be jarring. Like, why am I half naked right now? Like, how did that happen?
It's extra vulnerability.
Right. As she looked at her bare legs, she saw that there was a gaping wound on her left knee, and her right ankle had basically had the skin just shorn off.
Okay.
A little higher up on her shin was the worst injury of all, a compound fracture. She could see 4 inches of bluish bone sticking through her flesh on her leg.
No.
I can't deal with compound fractures. That's like a thing for me.
I've talked about the basketball player. I've
Yeah,
seen his leg
I
break,
know.
and it's
It's such a thing for me.
If I saw that on television and he was wearing a sock and I'm traumatized by
I
it.
just can't. Just to see your own. Ugh.
Like a sharp object, but it's your bone and it's
your
gross.
skin. God,
It's hard. It's rough.
so uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yuck.
Seeing this startled her, and she instinctually jerked back, which caused a new agony to blossom from her hips. The gasp she let out from the pain also made her realize the immense pain in her lungs and chest, allowing her to only take shallow breaths. She would later find that one of her lungs had collapsed.
Yikes.
She also had 2 large cuts near her right elbow. So she just sits there, and while trying to gather herself, she realizes she isn't alone. She can hear the moaning of other passengers.
Stop it. Shut up right now. No.
Still alive.
No. No. I didn't think. No. Okay. Damn it, Abby. You're doing this to me again.
Sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so she can hear them inside of the wrecked fuselage. And as she looks around, she sees several corpses and a young Vietnamese girl about 10 feet away, also moaning in pain from unseen injuries. Annette looks in the other direction and realizes she is seated right next to a Vietnamese man who is still also alive. He begins speaking to her in English and tells her not to worry and that someone would come for them.
Oh my God. Stop. He's comforting her.
I
Oh my
know.
gosh.
He saw her exposed and injured legs and took a pair of polyester suit pants out of his suitcase he was amazingly still holding on to, and gave them to her.
Wow. So he was able to move a little.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I think the Vietnamese girl also had her bag with her, and so did Annette. Like, they all somehow had their bags. Like, they had
That's
just
lucky.
clung to their, like, possessions.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild. Like, I don't know if I would have done, like, had the forethought to grab my purse on the way out.
Right?
Like, I don't know. So he gives her these pants, and she says, like, a million thank yous, and she tries to pull the pants on over her ruined legs. Bit by bit, she was able to pull them up until she got to her butt, which felt broken beyond belief.
Ooh.
She said the bones there felt crushed.
Ew, no.
But she still managed to get the pants on, citing modesty as her motivator.
Oh my
I don't want to be
gosh.
naked out here.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to either.
I don't know if my modesty would outweigh the pain in that situation, though. I'm like, I
True.
can deal with my busted up ass cheeks. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if I'm still wearing underwear, it's just like, I'm fucking human. Deal with it. It's a leg.
it's a leg.
Let me just have my leg.
But I guess it is the jungle. You probably want to be covered with, like, bugs and stuff.
Bugs and animals and cold or
Yeah.
hot or I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, you'd want to cover up your wounds. Oh, but still so.
sure.
Ugh.
Probably
So
sweaty if it's hot.
it is hot. I mean, they're in the jungle. Like,
It's awful.
very humid. So the man next to Annette tells her he is a very important man and that someone would be coming for him. This comforts her at first, but over the next few hours, she hears fewer and fewer sounds from the survivors, and she can see the man next to her growing weaker.
Oh, no.
She begs him to hold on and not to leave her there alone,
No.
but he too eventually succumbs to his injuries, and Annette watches him die.
That is wild, and I don't want to watch somebody die in my arms.
Like a stranger, but you're like together by this terrible event. Like,
Right, like you would be like bonded beyond belief in a matter of an instant, no
like
matter
in an
what.
intimate like way. Like, it's just so crazy.
And like you're literally watching these last moments and you're the only person for them. And
Yeah.
it's like something you can never, I mean, that's just mind-boggling.
oh, so
And also traumatic. Like,
So
it doesn't matter if it's a
traumatizing.
stranger. It's a human experience of just, like, absolute heartbreak.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh, sad.
Yeah. And now she realizes she's completely alone in the jungle.
Imagine the mounting fear coming over her.
The terror.
And, as you eerily said, like, getting quieter. Like, ugh.
I can't.
Killing me. Ugh.
So, Annette marks the time by the dead man's watch and waits for help to come, trying to focus on anything but the thought of her dead fiance, like, feet away. She said she would shut down any thoughts of him because she knew she wouldn't be able to bear it and she needed to survive. And she knew crying would make her thirsty and she didn't have water.
Yeah, and she's already sweating and all that.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, like, just so much more.
Just, like, gotta compartmentalize. So instead, she would concentrate on the beauty of the jungle and the way the sun hit the green leaves above her. She got really into nature. Like, that's how she started kind of getting out of this mentally.
You almost have to, like, go into, like, a meditative state.
Yeah, she talked about that. She talked about yoga breathing.
Yeah.
Which she kind of had to do with a collapsed lung.
Yeah.
It was hard to breathe. She stayed awake for as long as she could, and she contemplated smoking the cigarette she had on her,
Nice.
but ultimately decided now would be the perfect time to quit and went to sleep instead.
I'm going to take advantage of this situation.
Yeah. I don't think the collapsed lung would have appreciated it.
Yeah.
Annette woke up the next morning in the same nightmare she went to sleep in.
Oh, can you imagine, like, hoping that was all a nightmare and then you wake up and it's a reality?
And it's still happening. It's not over yet. They didn't find you.
Can't even handle it.
Okay, so she wakes up dying of thirst. Her feet are badly swollen, and she's covered in leeches.
Ew.
Michael.
That's disgusting.
That's so disturbing to wake up covered in leeches. No!
Ew.
And God knows what other kind of bugs and creepy crawly. She's covered in insect bites.
Ew. They're, like, trying to eat her alive.
But at least she was in the jungle during the rainy season, because soon it started to downpour, and Annette was able to tip her head back and drink.
Oh, that might have felt nice, too.
Yeah, a little refreshing. She decided she had about a week before she was going to die out there or crawl into the jungle. And so she continued to wait. It was Saturday now, and they were expected back on Wednesday. So Annette knew that if they hadn't been heard from by Wednesday, someone would raise the alarm if they hadn't already. The day passes with no sign of rescue, and she sleeps once again out in the open jungle. In her book, she doesn't really talk about being that terrified just sitting there, helpless and injured, where, like, any number of predators could come finish
Well,
you
I'd
off.
be thinking of, like, large snakes and tigers and shit.
Immediately, I'd be like, I'm going to get ate up.
Easily. You're
So quick.
injured. You're injured.
Yeah.
You can't move.
And, yeah, there's no chance for you fighting anything off.
And, like, there's other bodies, too, so maybe they're, like,
Drawing them?
smelling that? Are they, like, sharks and smell blood?
You would think.
Oh, terrifying.
But maybe she's too hurt to care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So Annette wakes up on the third day
Wow.
to an awful putrid smell. And I'm sorry, this is going to be gross again. She looks over at the dead man beside her and sees a white maggot crawling out of his half-open eyelid.
Ew.
She looks at his body in horror and she realizes he is covered with them.
Oh, my God.
And obviously one of the sources of the smell. I mean, they're decomposing quickly because they're in the heat and constant moisture in the jungle.
Very quickly. Very gross.
Yes. So Annette decides she needs to move away from there
Yeah.
and begins to agonizingly drag her body away using her elbows, which one of them has a gaping open wound.
Yeah.
But she manages to move further downhill where the other detached wing of the plane was laying and settles in a sunny clearing. She had grabbed the Vietnamese girl her bag when she moved past and Roscoe and found a blue plastic rain poncho, which she was able to put on, and it, like, kept her dry from the downpour. And another day passes with no rescue.
Terrible.
When she wakes up on the fourth day, she's extremely groggy and she's thirsty. And she looks over at the detached plane wing and notices some foam insulation coming from within it. Annette grabs as many chunks of it as she can, and she waits for it to rain. When it does, she uses the insulation as sponges, and she wrings out all the water they collected into her mouth. And she said it was the best water she had ever tasted.
Smart.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking she would like collect water using the poncho, but
That would be smart too. There was a few things that she did, like she made a joke. She's like, I'm a city girl. Like, I don't know what I'm doing out here.
yeah, like you don't know survival tips. Like,
Yeah, because she was talking about smoking a cigarette because she had a lighter. And she's like, what am I going to do? Light a fire? And I'm like, yes! Yes! Light a fire!
maybe someone will see smoke.
A signal fire! But she's like, everything's soggy out here, and
Yeah, true.
I'll just wait. But yeah, that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, she had some stuff, but she just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So the day continues as the ones had before, with no rescue in sight. Back at home, everyone had learned of the missing flight. Mm-hmm. And the only person who seemed determined that Annette had survived was her close friend and trading partner, Jamie.
Interesting. Why would she just think she... Okay. Interesting.
Right? It is interesting that he refuses to believe she was gone and became angry when people talked about her in the past tense.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And he would become integral in her rescue.
He felt something. He knew something.
He
There
knew.
was something there.
Yeah, instantly. He's just like, she's alive.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Annette spent day 5 in the jungle, counting out the time before she could squeeze another bit of insulation full of water into her mouth. Mm-hmm. She did this every 3 hours.
Okay, good.
She also examined her hands, which had now become severely swollen, as her feet had previously. Her toes were now turning black, and she thought about the frostbitten toes of the survivors of the Andes disaster.
Okay, that's where she starts thinking
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And she's like looking around, and she's like, don't worry, I'm not going to eat anyone. Like, that's not going to happen.
I did wonder that. Like,
Yeah. She literally says it like, I'm not eating anyone.
No, that would be a decision I wouldn't make. I wouldn't do that.
No, I think in the Andes it's different because the situation is just so different.
Yeah, and it's cold.
It's cold where people
So it
are
was
like
more like
preserved, I guess.
jerky?
Oh, gross. But like they weren't in the jungle where everything just putrefies so
And
quickly.
it smells so bad. Yeah,
rough.
different situation.
Yeah. But so funny how that connected.
Yeah.
So Annette thinks about her family and her friends to keep her going, and she pointedly tries not to think of Pache. And then the day passes without rescue once again.
Oh my God.
On the 6th day, Annette wakes up and realizes she needs to use the bathroom.
Oh, this whole time?
I know. I was like, well, I guess she's only been drinking like a little bit and not eating, so it's only just now becoming a problem.
Okay.
Like all of her water is probably just being absorbed in her body. She's got nothing left over to pee out. So this poor woman refuses to go in her pants. She's like, I will not be peeing my pants.
Okay, she still got the pants on. She doesn't want to pee them.
No. And instead drags herself back uphill and goes through the excruciating process of taking off her borrowed pants.
Oh my gosh.
She does this, and then she sees that she has gotten her fucking period.
No, bitch. Come on. The literal cherry on top. Ah, gosh.
Of course.
That's the worst.
God,
please.
am I not bleeding enough for you, Mother Nature? Like, can I be enough?
Jesus. Women. Being a woman is sucky sometimes.
I know. Although she probably wouldn't feel the cramps, you know.
Yeah, that'd probably be like
the
nothing.
scale of it would be nothing.
It'd be nothing.
She's like, I didn't even realize I got it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's terrible. So she manages to relieve herself, and she gets her pants back on before dragging herself back to her spot, and then she collapses completely exhausted.
Yeah, dude, that would take so much energy.
Mm-hmm. And it was after this that Annette started having these out-of-body experiences.
Yes.
So blood loss, shock, and deprivation of water and food all probably factored into this.
Yeah.
But Annette describes the experience as beautiful. Like, she said that she felt like she was one with nature.
Yes.
And she felt immense love and peace
I love this.
when she was in this state.
Yes.
She said that the pain left her, and she was able to cope with the death around her, seeing it as part of the circle of life on the path to rebirth. So she's dealing with this, like, way better than I would have.
Oh, for sure,
It's just, like, one with nature, and everything is beautiful.
That'd be amazing, though.
I mean, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
On the 7th day,
Oh, gosh.
Annette is kind of in and out of consciousness. She's very lightheaded, and all of the colors around her appear super vibrant and bright. She describes a feeling of peace and acceptance as she surrenders herself to the universe and listens to the sounds of the jungle.
Oh.
But she gets snapped back to reality when she hears a branch break.
Ew, scary.
She looks around to where the sound came from and sees a man.
Okay.
It's hard for her eyes to focus, but she sees a man across a ravine from her, and he's wearing bright orange. Like official bright orange, like traffic orange.
Yeah, okay.
His hood is up, and he's staring right at her.
Ooh.
Her voice comes out like a croak, but she tries to call to him anyway. And she's like, hello?
Oh my gosh.
Can you hear me? Like, can you help me? Help me. And
Yeah.
over and over, but he does nothing but stare.
What?
She's completely out of Zen mode now and starts cursing at this guy in every language she can think of. And she knows quite a few. It's pretty impressive.
She's like, okay, forget this piece.
I'm going to curse at you in German, in Dutch, in English, in Spanish.
Uh-huh.
But he just continues to stare.
Is he like in shock or something?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. Okay.
She said he stared at her without blinking for hours.
Hours?
And then was suddenly gone as quickly as he appeared.
Okay, she's fucking hallucinating. You're tricking me.
Annette told herself she must have hallucinated him. That's funny you said that. That was the next line. Yeah, so she thinks...
Oh, that's sad.
She's like, maybe I must have hallucinated, and then she just falls asleep.
Someone at the door.
Sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back again.
Oh, righty.
We got a printer delivered, so we're happy about that.
Michael's nerding out.
Yeah, he's excited to set that up later. It's hard to do a podcast in the early morning hours, apparently.
Yeah, that's what we get for like trying to record early. Is we're constantly interrupted.
I know. We were like on our shit. Doesn't matter. Okay. All right. So she's like, I must have hallucinated him.
Right.
And she falls asleep.
Okay.
When she wakes up on the 8th day, she's really groggy, but she remembers the man in orange from the day before, and she looks around to see if she can spot him again. And she does.
What?
He is crouching a ways from her, and once again is just staring at her.
I don't like this. Why aren't you helping her if you're real?
Right, he's just watching. She decides she's going to watch him too, and
That's
see.
all she can do.
She's like, I'll stare at you back. And she sees that he has black hair, brown eyes, tanned skin, and she describes his face as beautiful. I think she thinks everything's beautiful at this moment.
Uh-huh.
She seems to, she's like, every nature is beautiful.
Life is beautiful.
That man is beautiful.
Probably was beautiful.
Yeah, to her, it's gorgeous. She assumes he must be native to the area, but can't fathom why he won't speak to her or come closer. She yells at him again with no results. A few hours pass, and he vanishes again.
Interesting.
Annette passes in and out of reality for the rest of the day. She knew she was dying, and she welcomed it. She was ready to
She's
be
like,
done.
please be done with me now.
Like, 8 days, come on.
Gosh.
And then in the afternoon, she once again heard branches snapping, but this time
Yeah.
the sound of several male voices followed.
Okay.
She had finally been found! Yay! So a group of Vietnamese men come walking out of the jungle, and one man approached her with a flight roster and gestured for her to point at her name. She did, and was rewarded with a sip of the most refreshing water she had ever tasted.
Nice.
More men came with a sheet of canvas material that she was moved onto, and then both ends were tied to a long stick, kind of like a hammock.
Okay.
So, and then there was one man on each end to carry her.
Gotcha.
Because they didn't come prepared for anyone to be alive.
I see.
They brought a lot of body bags.
I see.
Yeah, they weren't expecting her to have made it, so they didn't have any kind of like stretcher or anything.
I mean, yeah, can you imagine? Like, I wouldn't think anyone survived either.
8 days later? No, not at all. Okay, so they're carrying her away from the spot that she's been living for like the past 8 days.
Jeez.
She could see the other men bagging up the bodies from the plane, and Annette started to panic as she realized she was being taken away from Pache.
No.
But one of them gave her another small sip of water, which she said worked like Valium. And she kind of calmed down again. The men carrying her walked as carefully as they could through the thick jungle, but even the smallest jostle would make Annette cry out in pain. The men carrying her took off their shoes to step even softer.
Oh, they're trying so hard.
I know. It's like, that's so nice.
Aw.
In the jungle, you're going barefoot?
Yeah.
They make camp that night in the jungle, and the men give Annette small sips of water and laugh at her when she holds fingers to her lips in the gesture of smoking.
Oh my gosh, hilarious.
She's like, cigarette. You guys got a cigarette?
Gotta have your cigarettes.
They're like, no. You silly white lady.
But also kind of sucky that they have to camp out in the jungle for a night.
Right? That she can't get out the first night.
Yeah.
It's not that they didn't have cigarettes on them, like they were smoking.
Oh.
They just weren't going to give them
Right.
to her.
It's probably not a good idea,
No.
man.
They're like, no, you're half dead.
We're trying to save you.
Come on. So she spent the night once more in the jungle, and the next day the men packed up and took her to a small village. But the hospital there was not so much a hospital and more like a hut with a few medical supplies. Mm-hmm. They're in a really rural area, and this village can't be expected to have the resources to deal with her kind of injuries.
Right.
Very severe. So Annette is placed in a minivan and is moved again to the hospital in Ho Chi Minh City. So while being treated, her parents and sister, along with Pache's sister, arrive in Vietnam to see Annette. But the most surprising visitor was her trading partner, Jamie.
Oh.
In her feeble state, she says to him, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
It's like the last person you would think would visit you.
She's like, "Who's minding the business?" He's like, "Wow, thanks." She didn't know it at the time, but Jamie had already started traveling to Vietnam before he even found out she was alive. He just knew she wasn't dead. And he said, quote, "Annette's father got angry when I promised him before I left, I will bring your daughter back alive. And he said, you're an idiot. And get real."
Way to rub it back in his face.
I know, he's like trying to be like gallant and like, "I'll bring her back." And he's like, "You're an idiot."
That's
Shut
so
up.
funny, but then he does.
I know, but then he does. Like, what? Okay, so when Annette saw her mom, she finally allowed herself to break down, and then she kind of blacked out again after that.
Jesus, like, ugh.
Like the first time you're letting
Like,
yourself
what a relief and, like,
Yeah.
process. Like,
and now
holy
you
shit.
can feel those feelings you weren't letting yourself feel before.
That's awful.
Annette's family was horrified by the conditions in the hospital, and they feared she was going to lose her leg to gangrene. Mm-hmm. They begged the Vietnamese government to allow Annette to be transferred to a more modern private hospital in Singapore, and their request was approved. Annette had to be flown there, which did not go over well.
No.
No. Her mother was allowed to travel with her and had to keep speaking to Annette to keep her focused and awake. Even still, they almost lost her on the way there.
Oh my gosh.
So Annette finally gets to the Mount Elizabeth Hospital in Singapore and begins to receive care and treatment for her many injuries, which include a broken jaw. Hers was broken in half.
Oh my gosh.
12 fractures in her hip, 2 fractures in her leg, many cuts and bruises, along with malnutrition and dehydration.
Yeah.
The latter would lead to the loss of one of her kidneys. Like, I guess you can't go without water for that long and not have bad kidneys after that.
Yeah.
This is a little gross. Warning you again.
Okay.
She almost lost her hands and feet to gangrene. But thankfully and disgustingly, maggots were used to eat away all of the decaying flesh, which slowed down the spread of the infection.
Interesting.
And
I feel like I've heard of that
I've
before.
heard of that before, too, and you're like, that is so counterintuitive,
Disgusting and morbid.
but makes sense.
Ew. But it's like you're literally watching bugs eating your leg.
Eating... Ugh.
Just the dead parts.
Just the dead parts.
Ew, though. And bugs. Ew.
Yeah, I hate maggots. They make me...
Like, they would be...
Just even the word maggot is so
right?
gross.
There would be so many of them, too. So there would be, like, a bunch of, like, crawly things. That's disgusting.
No. Even worse, the deep wounds had to be scraped clean several times a day.
Oh, no.
I can't. It makes me shudder. Just like, oh, the
Yeah.
word scraped.
Don't like that word. Nope.
I don't like that at all. Annette was very anxious and panicky in the hospital Duh. And the thing that calmed her the most was holding a bottle of water so that she could take sips from it and playing Tetris on a Game Boy her sister bought her.
Oh, I love Tetris on Game Boy.
Right?
I remember that was the shit.
Yeah. I remember I played it so much on that Vegas road trip that I was literally dreaming Tetris. I was like, I gotta stop playing Tetris. That's a little too much.
That's funny.
So after a couple weeks in Singapore, Annette was stable enough to be transferred to a Dutch hospital. She had to fly again, strapped to a gurney, which made her panic. But Jamie stayed with her the whole flight and got her through it. Back in her home country, Annette had basically become a celebrity, which was not something that she wanted. Mm-hmm. She just wanted everything to go back to normal. She had to attend Pashi's funeral on a stretcher after being transported in an ambulance.
Oh my gosh.
The funeral was at an old church, and Annette couldn't help but feel like she was attending her own, macabre wedding as the medical attendants wheeled her down the aisle to Pashi's coffin at the altar.
Oh my God, what an experience.
Right.
Jesus.
The way she described it, I was like, oh, that is so eerie.
That is so eerie and kind of creepy and sad.
Right, it's so sad. She said in her book that Pashi's parents, or Willem as they knew him, were kind of cold to her after the accident, and they didn't allow her to be included in many of his affairs after that.
Why?
I know, I
they
guess
never actually got married.
Pretty much,
But
and
even though they were together for 13 years,
right? Her parents were just devastated by his death. They loved him so much, and his mom just well, people react to grief differently, and I guess she just kind of, I don't know, was kind of cold and shut down about it, and
yeah,
that was really hard for Annette.
that sucks.
I know, it's after all that, can we just be nice to each other? Mm-hmm. She was allowed to pick some of the music for the funeral. One of his favorite songs, which was "With or Without You" by U2.
Oh, you don't even know.
I know.
But you don't. But I know you know. But yeah, I love that song. Me and Chad love you too. Oh, we so nerd out on it.
I was like, oh, Shauna's going to love that song. It's such a great
Just
song.
one of the classics.
But even sadder still was the fact that the Vietnamese authorities had made a mistake in the identification and return of Pashi's body, which had actually been sent to a family in Britain.
Are you?
Not kidding.
There can be no break for this woman.
I know.
Or this journey.
It's just one thing
How?
after another, and this is just so awful and extra on top of everything else.
So the body that she was with wasn't even his.
Right.
Oh
his
my
friends
God.
carried a different man to his grave.
Can you imagine the jarring mental? Oh my God.
You thought you had this connection, you think he's there, and then you find out it was literally a different person.
I'm so angry.
It's so, and it's the guy that they mixed him up with had light hair and he had dark hair. So it's
Oh, but they didn't know.
I don't know. It's just, they said it was a mistake. They weren't they said that, they weren't trying to be terrible, but.
I mean, yeah, who forcefully tries to mistake bodies, but
Still.
that's a bummer mistake.
So rough. So, the family discovered that they hadn't been sent the body of their son, Hamish Emerson, who had also perished on the flight with his wife, and had instead been sent the body of Willem Vanderpaw, a.k.a. Pashi.
Right.
So they had to exhume Hamish Emerson from the Dutch grave to be sent to Britain, and they had to trade back remains, learning that Pashi's body had already been cremated.
That's sad.
I know, it's just extra awful. It's
my God, it's so unsatisfying.
I know, and it really just doesn't look good on the Vietnamese officials that handled the accident.
No, that should have been caught.
And neither did the fact that they passed a law specifically aimed at the victims of the crash and their relatives, limiting the airline's liability to compensate foreigners. They capped it at $20,000.
No.
How terrible is that?
Absolutely not. That's lame.
That's so bad. $20,000.
Come on, dude.
Rough. They also wanted to know, or people also wanted to know, why it took so long to find the crash site if it was only 12 miles away from its destination.
Right, okay.
From Annette's testimony and the position of some of the corpses, more than just Annette survived that crash, and people argued that more could have been saved if they had been located quicker.
Yeah.
Annette would later learn that a search helicopter had been sent out to look for them, carrying search personnel and doctors. But sadly, the helicopter would find the same fate as the plane that they were looking for, and it crashed, killing all 8 people on board.
I'm speechless. I can't. I'm so angry at you for telling me this story.
Sorry. So mad at you.
I'm so mad at you for just layering it on top.
Like, were you ready for some more? Because here's some more. Here's some more terrible in this story.
Oh, we had the perfect rescue helicopter to come get you, and then all of them died.
God. It's just so brutal. Like, more people died. Oh, it's just so sad. And I'm never, ever getting on a helicopter.
No, now I'm terrified of that. It's not happening.
So many people have died on helicopters.
Yeah, it's not chill.
Ugh. So Annette recovered in the hospital, and a few months later, she was fit enough to return to work in Madrid as a big-time trader with Jamie.
She wants to be back being a badass.
She just wants to go right back to it. They continued to make money, and Jamie helped Annette on flights as they traveled often for their job. She was always to be seated in the front row because she couldn't bear the seat in front of her to touch her legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she immediately got claustrophobic and flashed back to the corpse trapping her under the seat.
I'm surprised she went back on a plane in fucking general. Like,
I know. She was like, I just have to. Like, I have to travel for my job. Like, I have to get over this.
oh my gosh, that's rough.
Yeah, and like when the airline wouldn't do it, she had to like be like, well, I was in a plane crash, so, and I claustrophobic because a dead person was on top of me, so give me the good seat.
Yeah.
They're like,
if
oh,
anything,
Jesus, sorry, I'm sorry.
Jesus, give me the good seat.
Jesus. Okay, so that's pretty crazy that she still travels.
Yeah.
And when you know it, Annette and Jamie actually end up falling for each other.
Nope, I knew it this whole time. I was waiting for it. I thought they were already having an affair, but
They weren't.
that's good.
Yeah.
But that's like a nice kind of like circle.
Yeah, they get hitched and they move to New York City so that they can still work but also have a family. They have 2 children together, the oldest a girl and the youngest a boy, who would be diagnosed with autism early in his childhood. I did find this part of the book to actually be like really interesting, and it's heart-wrenching because you can see she just like talks about it a lot and like what she goes through with the struggles of raising an autistic son in the 90s, like in an upper class society, like you know, with people who don't always accept those who are different.
Yeah.
But she also, again, like has this really beautiful way of looking at things and knowing that you just have to accept things as they are and just see the beauty in them and like to stop obsessing over your expectations.
Her perspective on life after that would be so changed.
It really is. And like she just talks about how you like have to live in the moment.
Yeah.
And there's this quote in her book and she says, "There is beauty in every situation. Once you see the beauty, happiness will follow." I was like, damn, Annette, that's nice.
It's wise.
But yeah, it seems like she just gets thrown through a loop like over and over and she just like adapts to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're constantly experiencing tragedy, I mean, that's life. So might as well just find the beauty in it and learn things and keep going. I don't know. It's hard.
It takes a strong person.
Yeah, it's hard to accept.
So Annette and Jamie's love story did start like a Hollywood romance, but sadly ended in divorce years later, though the 2 remain on friendly terms.
That's good. I mean, she still had the life of a family and getting kids.
Yeah. And just so crazy that they ended up together. I mean, to see them together, it's just with him and his big mustache and his hair.
And his hair, right? I still don't like that in my head.
I'll show you a picture later.
That's funny.
So she revisits the crash site in 2006.
Brave.
13 years after the accident to reconnect with her story so that she can write a book about it and to make peace with the site and Pasha's memory.
Yeah.
This was challenging for Annette, not only psychologically but physically as well. The accident had left her with nerve damage in one of her feet, and her hips were now tilted, which made one leg longer than the other.
Wow.
But we already know she's a tough cookie.
Yeah.
So when she
And
gets...
she had kids.
Yeah, 2 children. With tilted hips.
Yeah, that's wild.
How'd that work?
That's so much your body is going through. Okay.
Yeah. So when she gets to Vietnam, Annette is surprised to be greeted by her rescuers and doctors who helped her in Vietnam after she had been found.
Oh, I love that.
It was a very emotional experience for all of them, as they had all believed she had actually died of her injuries in Singapore.
They had no idea.
They had no idea that she lived. And then when they found out she had kids, they were just like amazed, and like it's huge in their culture. Like
13 years later.
yeah, they're like, we saved someone who created life. Like that's
Family.
insane,
Oh my God, I can't believe they didn't know.
right? Wow, just wild that they. Yeah.
What great news, though. I'm sure they were overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah, the moment was really cool. She was talking about like this nurse who was like in her 70s now, but she just immediately like was looking at where her injuries had been to see the scars, and like
Wow.
knew exactly where they all were still.
Yeah,
So that was cool.
that's fascinating.
All right. So 3 men from the original crew are among the group accompanying Annette to the crash site, which is a long, steep, thickly vegetated hike in the sweltering heat. Mm-hmm. This is not something I would sign up for.
I know, that's... ugh.
When they finally arrive at the crash site, all of the metal debris was gone, but there were still like remnants of the plane scattered about, like carpet and that kind of stuff.
Really? So there's still debris?
Yeah, there's still pieces of debris.
Eerie.
Very eerie. One of the original rescuers, named Mr. Cow, was waiting with the others while Annette had her moment, and he was squatting down on a rock. When she looked at him sitting this way, her memory came flooding back to her, and she realized that this was the mysterious man in orange. It was the same guy.
Stop.
When they took a break for lunch, Annette asked him about it. He gave an embarrassed laugh and said when he first saw her, he thought she was a ghost.
Oh my... I mean, yeah, so this guy is real. He was in shock, but like staring at her for hours. Damn.
He had never seen a white person before or blue eyes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Plus, she had on that blue poncho, and she was like super thin and probably all bloody around a bunch of other corpses.
She probably just looks like a totally different creature that's so injured.
Yeah, he was terrified of her. Like, he
Oh,
was so scared.
Oh my God. Okay, this makes sense. Okay.
And he said he was waiting for the ghost to leave before he went and got his friends to help clean up the site.
He's trying to wait until she dies.
But he said when he watched her take her blue hood off, he decided she looked human enough and finally went and got his friends.
Okay. Okay.
So the mystery was finally solved 13 years later.
That's so funny.
Which is pretty amazing that he was like, he came back to like take her to the site again.
Oh my gosh.
Annette finally wrote down her experience in her book Turbulence in 2006, and it was eventually translated into Vietnamese, which would again bring her back to the country. And she took her daughter with her that time to show her the crash site and to introduce her to Mr. Cow, whom without she wouldn't have existed. Mm-hmm. So it was a really touching moment when they met.
Right.
And Annette is still alive and well. She's living in New York City with her children, and every November 14th, she commemorates the accident and postures memory by counting and keeping note of everything she consumes. Quote from her: "For the next 8 days, I also count how much I eat and drink, from 7 a.m. on the first day, the second, the third, to p.m. on the 8th day. It is a lot. 2 slices of brown bread with cheese and tea with milk every morning, coffee with milk, another slice at 11 a.m., lunch, tea with cookies, a drink with salami and olives, dinner with wine, tea with chocolate, and water. Many glasses of water. No hang-ups, just counting." I was like, that is a European diet if I ever heard one.
Right.
Salami and olives.
Just salami and olives. I love that.
Tea and chocolate. And that's the incredible survival story of Annette Herfkens.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Isn't that a crazy story?
You put me through it. You put us through it.
I always do.
You too. But that was a wild ride. It was a good ride.
Yeah. I just like her perspectives on things were really touching and like surprising
Yeah.
after going through something so awful.
And all that trauma.
Yeah. And she's just so enlightened by it. I was like, wow.
Wow. That's it. It's moving.
Very.
For sure.
Yeah. So,
Great job.
dang, I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Totally. We're wiped out.
We're wiped. What do we have to do? What's left?
What are we doing now?
City of the Week.
Let's do it. And It's actually once again Stockton, California.
Hey, Stockton, with an honorable mention to Bangs, Texas.
Bangs, Texas.
That's a great name.
Great
Bangs.
name.
I got bangs. And thanks for the love, Stockton, California.
Yeah, thank you. You coming in hot, and we appreciate it.
Why are you so obsessed with us? No, we love it. Okay, what's next? Do you have any watchings or listenings to recommend?
Yeah, so I think I've complained about it on here before. I mean, it's annoying how many streaming services that we need. But I did recently get Discovery Plus, and it is my new favorite streaming.
Oh, that one actually sounds like it would be really good.
It's really worth it because it's the cheap one right now so far, and it has a bunch of like paranormal stuff, a bunch of true crime stuff, like like home stuff, cooking stuff, like a bunch of stuff.
A bunch of stuff.
It's like a bunch of stuff. But I'm on it constantly, and they just added what's called American Detective with I believe his name is John Kenda.
Okay.
And he's like one of like the like famous top American detectives, and he's had like an old show before, but this one's new.
Yeah, the name is familiar.
Yeah, he was actually on an episode of Small Town Dicks not too long ago.
Okay, maybe that's why I know.
He has like the typical like old white man voice who's just like, I'm a detective and I hardly move my lips.
Oh my god, I think I actually talked to Michael about that guy. I was like, everything he says sounds like an old movie quote. Like he's just like everything that comes out of his mouth is like kind of badass.
Yeah, he's an old badass, and I love him. And the show is so good. I'm in the middle of it still, but I've watched a handful of episodes, and it's funny. He's funny because he like kind of like narrates part of it, and like, but you see him in a chair.
Oh
and
god,
he always like tilts his head down, and he's just like, "But not everybody. It turns out it's okay." And it's just like so funny because it's like
the old school style.
It's like on the nose, like where it's funny, but it's also badass.
Great.
Yeah, I recommend it.
We'll have to watch that because I don't have Discovery Plus.
It's worth it. It's only $4.99 a month, I believe. So
Another $5.
I know. Get it while it's cheap. I'm sure it'll go up.
I know.
It's where the new episodes of Ghost Adventures are at, so I had to do it.
Oh, that's how they get you. Mm-hmm. Well, I have one too. Mine's a podcast.
Nice. What are you listening to?
It's from Vice, and it's in Australia. It's like Vice Australia.
Oh, that seems legit.
Yeah, and it's called Extremes. It's actually one of the podcasts that this Annette did an interview with.
Oh,
which is why I listened to it. But then it was really good, and I think it was in like 2019 or something. There's only like 6 episodes, but they're the interview style where it's just one person telling a crazy ass story.
I love those.
I love those so much. And like, there's one guy where he like ships himself from like the UK to Australia in a box, and like all of these like just crazy stories, and one in like Antarctica. So it's just like very varied. But
okay, that sounds really good.
You would dig that one. I know it.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Do it.
Cool.
I don't think we have anything else.
All right. Should I list our social medias?
Please do.
Okay, guys, you can check out on our socials. We have a lot of our things at Anxious and Afraid the Pod. So that's our handle for both of our Facebook page and group, along with our Instagram and Gmail. We are also on Twitter at AA the Pod. You can support us on patreon.com/anxious and afraid. We also have some fun merch if you'd like it. It's pretty cute. And you can find all of that stuff listed in our episode notes, each episode, and on our website, which is anxiousandafraid.com. You can also support us for free if you can't do any of that by leaving a rate review. You subscribe to the show, tell your friends, give us suggestions.
Third best friend.
Yeah. Give us any corrections or any misses that we had.
Yeah.
Too. We don't catch them all the time, but it's funny.
Clearly. We're the ones making them.
I know.
Yeah. Is that all of them?
Yeah. That's it.
All right.
Are we going to go? We're Gucci?
Yeah, we good.
All right. Well, good up.
Thanks. And good night. All right, for my sources, I read a book called Turbulence by Annette Herfkens. I went to the internet for independent.co.uk, news.com, aviationsafety.net, wikipedia.com, Vice Australia's podcast Extremes. Our music is by Broke for Free and Matt Edwards, and we are edited by Michael.
Anxious and Afraid is partnered with the Oracle Network.
not all caps.
We're with a couple of anal retentive weirdos trying to block my creativity.
If it's not perfect, it's not done yet.
Correct, Michael.
Which is why none of you finish anything.
we don't start things either.
I'm taking it all personally, but it is also all true.
I know.
It's okay. It's why we all get along so well. Opposites attract.